Paper 2, question 24. Solve x squared plus 5x minus 24 equals 0. Now, whenever we're solving quadratics, we must first factorize the quadratic. And once we factorize it, then from there, I'll show you how to solve it. Right, so how do we go about factorizing a quadratic? Now, the basics principle, I mean, if it does factorize, is that we first look at this number here, 24, and we call that the product. So we need two numbers which will times together to give me minus 24. This is a product. Those same numbers must add, so this part here we call the sum. Okay, so that is the product, okay, and that is the sum. So here we go. I'm going to think of two numbers which will multiply together to give me 24. Right, so we just start with the basic numbers. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 8, 16, 24, 4 times 6, 6, 12, 18, 24, 5 doesn't go to it, and then we get back to 6, etc. So it just fills the whole circle here. These are all the possible combinations, all the factors, and also all the numbers that were times together to make 24. Now, one of them obviously has to be a negative and one has to be positive. That's the only way we can multiply two numbers and come out with a negative number. So in a way, we're looking at one of them being a negative, but more importantly, that's looking at the difference, and the difference between the two numbers is going to be a positive 5. So the difference between those two numbers is going to be a positive 5. The difference between those two numbers is 23, so we can't have that. The difference between those two numbers is 10, so we can't have that. The difference between 8 and 3 is 5. So bingo, that's our two numbers, but let's just double check looking through this, we haven't missed anything out. And the difference between 4 and 6 is 2, so it's not that. So we are just left with 3 and 8. Okay, so if I want a positive 5, I'm going to keep the big number being positive and the small number being negative, because I know that 8 times minus 3 is minus 24, and I know that 8 take away 3 is a positive 5. Now we go about factorizing the quadratic. Now it's just straightforward. All you do is you open up two brackets, make that equal to 0 as it is. Now x squared, because it's x squared, we can just put x in each corner here. It's a very simple. In foundation paper, you will just see the coefficient of x squared being 1. So x times x will be x squared. So this minus 3 and plus 5, doesn't matter which way around you put it. I'm just going to put minus 3 and plus 8 here. Sorry, minus 3, this number's here, minus 3 and plus 8. It doesn't really matter which factor you put it in, which bracket. You could put it that, or you could put it as x plus 8 times x minus 3 equals 0. 6 and 2 3s. It doesn't really matter which way around you do it. And then when solving it, I'll just put a line down the middle. Now, when solving it, it says either this factor is equal to 0. So we need to find the value of x, which will make this factor equal to 0. So it's just a simple equation. X plus 8 equals 0. So x must equal minus 8. That's one of the solutions. Or x minus 3 is equal to 0. Take the minus 3 to the other side. X must equal 3. So there are two solutions for this equation to equal to 0. X equals minus 8 or x equals 3. If you get time, you could later in some space go and double check whether these solutions will work. I mean, these are the only two solutions that will make that equation equal to 0, and then just double check it and then work it through. I'll just quickly, since we've got some time, I'll just run through and show you how you could double check. So if I said x equals 3, I could go and put it into this equation and say 3 squared plus 5 times 3 minus 24, that's going to be 9. 5 times 3 is 15, take away 24, well, 9 plus 15 is 24, and 24 take away 24 is going to equal 0. So this one will definitely work. You could try when x equals minus 8, and write minus 8 squared don't forget, when you're doing minus 8 squared, if you're doing a calculator, put brackets around the minus 8. Otherwise, the calculator just assumes you squaring the 8 and it leaves the minus outside. So you must put that in brackets. Then you put 5 multiplied by minus 8, and then you got minus 24. So minus 8 times minus 8 is a positive 64. 5 times 8 is 40, with the minus gives me minus 40, and that is a minus 24. Well, these two, minus 40 minus 24 is minus 64, and you got 64, 64 minus 64 is just 0, so that one works. Those are the only two that will work. Okay, that's if you get time to do this. Otherwise, just leave that alone and put your solutions like that.